Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Meaningful Motivations with Tracey Erickson. And of course, if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracey Erickson, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you a story about this one time that I almost died in the Atlantic Ocean. But I also have a little spiritual lesson as a part of this story, so you're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. It has been so cold here in Iowa for the last few days, and because of that, I was reminiscing about my family's trip last summer to Florida. And during that trip, we visited Cocoa Beach. My family and I are from Des Moines, Iowa, so none of us really get to see the ocean very often. Usually when we get to play in waves, it's in the form of a giant wave pool. And as many of you know, a wave pool always has the waves sending you to the end of the pool, which is the more shallow end. So it's kind of like imitating waves, but it's also giving us this false sense of how waves work. Because, you know, in our experience, it's like the wave is always bringing you to the shore, right? So it seems pretty safe, right? So during this trip, we had my mom and my sister and her daughter, my brother, his wife, and his 3 kids, and of course, me and my husband and our 2 kids. So the entire family was at the beach on this beautiful day in Florida. And my mom never actually got into the water. She was very hesitant for any of us to get into the ocean. So really, my mom just kind of sat there watching us enjoy the beach the whole time. But really, she was very nervous for everybody for the entire time we were there. So my husband and I and my son and my nephew and my sister-in-law, we were all having a great time playing in the waves. And the waves were actually pretty aggressive on that day. And, you know, with our inexperience in such turbulent water, we were just having a great time letting the waves kind of take us away, bring us forward. And little by little, as we didn't notice, we were being pushed more and more and more away from the shore. And we finally noticed that this happened when we could no longer reach the bottom of the ocean floor. So now we were stuck in a current, and all we could do was swim. As soon as I realized that I couldn't reach the ocean floor anymore, I began to panic. And I simply began to swim as hard as I could towards the shore. And I was swimming and stopping every once in a while to see if I could touch the bottom, and I couldn't. So I kept swimming and I kept swimming. I no longer could see anyone else that I was swimming with because I was so focused on going forward toward the shore. I began to panic, and as I looked up to the shore while I was swimming for my life, I noticed that I was getting no closer to the shore. In fact, I might have been getting further away, even though I was swimming like harder than I've ever swam in my entire life. That's when I started to panic. It was when I realized I was getting no closer to the shore in my struggle. So as I began to panic at that time, when I realized I was getting further away from where I needed to be, now the waves began to kind of consume me each time. And my head was going underwater every time a wave came. And that made me panic even more. I, at this point, was literally in the belief that I was going to die there in the Atlantic Ocean. In the middle of my struggle, I somehow got this sense of calm wash over me. I think it was when I realized that I might just die there, because then I'm like, well, what's my choice now? Keep panicking? So anyway, this strange calm went over me, and I began to just tread water the best I could so that I could just find my balance again. Now, as I found that stillness, I literally just prayed. I said, God, please get me out of this. Please just help me get to the shore. I cannot swim much longer because, mind you, I'm not very physically fit. And so at this point, I'm getting rather exhausted and I can barely keep up with my breathing as I'm constantly exerting myself and yet not able to catch my breath. And I have all these waves getting over my head every couple of seconds. So I just feel like, what can I do now but pray? And right after I asked God to help me out, after I found just a moment of calm in all of this chaos, and I simply seeked my inner wisdom and I asked for help to get me to shore. Next thing you know, here comes my sister-in-law, Jenny, and she was just casually swimming by, but she was going across me. Remember, I was trying to drive. I was trying to swim forward for the shore, and she was just like casually crossing me like this. And I said, Jenny, I'm not getting any closer. And she said, swim this way. So my help came in the form of my sister-in-law. In my panic, I had no idea how rip currents work. All I knew in that moment was that I needed to get to the shore. And so in my mind, I just thought, swim straight. But when I found that moment of calm, Jenny came by and told me what to do. I had to swim at a more diagonal line to reach the shore, because at that point, I have to follow the current of these waves, right? As soon as Jenny helped me to correct my swimming path, I was easily able to swim to shore. But I was so completely out of breath by the time I made it there, I collapsed in the sand and laid there until I could finally catch my breath. The whole experience was rather frightening to me, even though others seemed to easily make it to shore because they were swimming with the current and that diagonal line. But I was there exhausting myself, trying to swim straight to the shore. And all that did was take me back further, because I must have been stuck in some kind of reverse current or something. So by the time I made it back to where my mom was sitting on the beach, she said she saw the whole thing go down. And of course, at this point, she was ready to leave the beach. She never wants to see the ocean again. As far as she is concerned, she sat there and watched her entire family almost become annihilated by the ocean because of our inexperience in playing in the waves.
Hey guys, we are at the beach. We're about to leave. We're drying off. This is a ripoff. It's actually not raining either. We should stay longer, but whatever. Bye guys.
And just like my daughter Celeste, we were all a little sad to leave the beach that day because it was our one fun, glorious day at the beach. But I definitely understand where my mom was coming from by making us leave at that point. Now, as I was reminiscing about this whole experience of almost dying in the Atlantic Ocean, I realized something, that there's definitely a spiritual lesson involved here. And you can apply this spiritual lesson to literally every single area of your life or any situation where you feel you are out of control. Now, the spiritual lesson I was able to find here was that it was during my panic when I was feeling very triggered by what was going on in my life. At the very moment, anyway. It was my panic that had caused me to then exhaust myself even more. I was so panicked when I thought I couldn't make it to the shore that I couldn't even feel the current and work with it because I was simply ignoring what was actually happening around me. So this sense of panic, this sense of the fight or flight, it really clouded my judgment. Now, it wasn't until I found that moment, that split moment of clarity, and was able to just tread water and pray and find that center once again. That is when the help came. Even though the help was in the form of someone else, I wouldn't have even noticed Jenny swimming in front of me during that panic mode. I was only able to express to her that I wasn't able to make it to shore because I found that inner stillness for a moment right before she was crossing my path. So when I yelled to her that I couldn't make it, that's when she told me to correct my course and to simply swim a different direction. And that's what got me out of the situation. So when we're feeling triggered and we begin to panic or we begin to basically react to the external trigger in certain ways, then that is when I was exerting so much energy in the wrong direction. It wasn't until I was able to find that calm stillness within, even in the middle of a very panicking situation. It was in that moment of finding stillness that my answer to get out of it came through. Like I said, I would not have even noticed her swimming past me if I was still in that complete panic mode. Because in that mode, remember, I was swimming for my dear life. I could barely breathe already. And the waves were then beginning to take me under. So it was in that calmness that I was able to regroup and get the help I needed to get me out of that situation. So in the ocean and in life, it's always when we find that inner stillness where the best possible answers can be found. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to click that like button and share this video with all your friends out there. And of course, if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, I would just love for you to click subscribe down below. And once you have subscribed, you can then turn on the notifications bell if you would like to be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.